Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. There is a lot to cover, a lot, so let's jump right into it. A new research paper published by an economics professor at Yale University recommends a portfolio with at least 6% in Bitcoin. According to Professor Ali Tsvinsky, Bitcoin should be an imperative part of your portfolio, regardless of whether you are enthusiastic about the cryptocurrency or not. For an optimal construction of one's portfolio, the economists hold that Bitcoin should account for at least 6% of it. Those who are less enthusiastic about the world's most popular cryptocurrency should hold 4% of it. In any case, though, regardless of your position on the matter, Bitcoin should comprise a minimum of 1% of your portfolio just for diversification purposes. The study seems to fall in line with the observations of another scholar, Professor Dragan Boskovic, very cool names, from the Arizona State University. Speaking on the matter of cryptocurrencies, he noted, and I quote, "Institutional investors are recognizing this new asset as a valued investment opportunity. This will encourage individual investors. It will also encourage consumers and small shops to start trading cryptocurrency as well," end quote. The study titled Risks and Returns of Cryptocurrencies, which I think we spoke about in the last video, also outlines a very positive feature of cryptocurrencies when compared to traditional stocks and bonds. Using the Sharpe's ratio, Tsvinsky demonstrated that digital currencies show higher potential for return. Yes, they do, despite their increased volatility. It's noteworthy, however, that the professor only examined Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP for the purposes of the study. This goes back to the discussion that we had before. I forgot the name of the video already. It was like, should everyone own Bitcoin? No. It was like, do you believe in the one Bitcoin rule, in that as of now, there are potentially only anywhere from 6 to 2 million BTC floating around in the world, depending on how you want to calculate it. And the theory or the idea is that not every millionaire and billionaire in the world will be able to own one full Bitcoin. Based on price predictions and stuff like that of the future, should Bitcoin adoption continue, we've had news that within the next 3 to 5 years, Bitcoin's price could be $250,000 per coin, which would then allow it to actually surpass the US dollar, which is incredibly insane to think about. And then we've also had price predictions of around $1 million. What's been happening this year, specifically 2018, maybe the very end of 2017, is that we've seen an increased interest. I told you guys before, years ago, crypto was just seen as something for nerds. People made fun of anyone who was in it. And the fact that now we have so much big money standing on the side that is waiting to get into the cryptocurrency space, that everything has been built around this idea that Bitcoin and crypto is going to be a $1 trillion market cap place sometime in the future, is the fact that we even see Yale professors or economists telling people to own at least 6% of it in your portfolio is incredibly significant as well, because I tell you guys all the time, Bitcoin is only 9 years old. I don't have any negative feelings towards Bitcoin. I believe that you have a chance of higher profits for altcoins. This is just mathematically correct. You can see that during any given time, it's usually, if there's a bull run, it's more likely for a coin that is 10 cents to hit potentially $2, as opposed for Bitcoin to go from 10,000 to 200,000 in the exact same time. But as time continues to go on, and the more that like I always say, I don't know everything. I read the same as you guys. I try to learn a bit more about the cryptocurrency space every single day. I make sure to continuously read, but I don't think what's happening can be denied anymore. I think anyone who tries to deny that even crypto in general is going to fade away at some point, or that it's not real, or that it's not going to be able to make a lot of people money, is going to feel quite foolish in a couple of years. When they realize exactly what's happening. The fact that all of this is being integrated into governments, that banks are mining it, that we now have stock exchanges around the world and major banks around the world who are offering custody services for this. The fact that we just hear these things is probably only 1% of what's actually going on in the world. I'm fairly certain that something is happening behind the scenes, especially when it comes to over-the-counter trading, where people are buying from institutions and from companies without it actually hitting an exchange, so we don't see the volume going back and forth. I think something very significant is happening. I don't think that any of this is a mistake anymore. I think that all of this is completely planned, and I don't mean in some nefarious way. I mean more so that people have realized that the money to be made in crypto that they could have made before, when Bitcoin was $100 and shot up to $20,000, they finally realized that it wasn't a joke anymore. I think that they realize now that the money to be made in crypto far exceeds what there is to be made in the stock market, especially government issued bonds, where I think you may get 3%, 4% on your money every single year. The fact that we had coins last year that went up, I think by, what was it, like 8,000 something percent or something like that, and Bitcoin has gone up over 1 million percent since it first came out. That's all I'm pretty much going to say on it. I won't tell you to buy Bitcoin, but it would be, how do I say this? It would be a shame in the future if people didn't have at least a fraction of Bitcoin, and then for some odd reason, in some odd universe, in some odd scenario timeline, Bitcoin should hit $1 million per coin. If Bitcoin hits $1 million per coin and you have at least 0.01 Bitcoin, that is $10,000 of Bitcoin that you still have, if my math is not mistaken. Nope, that is definitely correct. It's still absolutely insane to think. I don't mean to spend too much time on this, but it really is a fascinating thing. You have to understand that this is, I tried to tell other people before. I had a friend who was visiting, who I guess, yes, she was visiting, and she had friends with her. Hello, if you are listening. And I was trying to explain to one of the friends why I was into crypto, and I think why her boyfriend was also into crypto. Once again, hello, if you're listening. And I tried to explain to her, this is probably, and I don't mean this as a joke, this is probably the only time in our history, in our lives, that we're probably ever going to be able to potentially put $1,500 into a computer code network online, and then potentially in 5 years' time have $1.5 to $2 million from it. There's nothing that we could possibly think of investing in. You can't invest in real estate that way. You can't invest in land that way. You can't invest in gold and silver, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, hedge funds, maybe hedge funds. No, not even hedge funds. You don't get those kind of, you don't get 8,000% returns. You're lucky if you get an 80% return over the course of a 2-year period. I am probably going to try and find more news when it comes to things like this. I'm going to do a bit more research on it as well, and try and find like accurate price predictions. I don't want anything that's talking about, 35 countries will be using Bitcoin by the year 2022, and therefore the price of Bitcoin is going up to $15 million. I'm going to try and find like actual numbers and more studies on this. I would love if there was like an actual book on this, but I mean, probably Bitcoin is maybe too young to be able to write an actual book on something like this, but it's incredibly interesting the amount of attention that crypto is getting now, to the point where people, I think one of the other things we heard as well from one of the other analysts was saying that everyone should have, I think, at least 1% of their portfolio. And he was talking about billionaires and multimillionaires. He said, if you don't at least have 1% of your portfolio in Bitcoin, you're going to be very, very upset. That's all I'm going to say about this. I think these studies are incredibly interesting, and I wonder how many, exactly what the reach is when these studies come out, how many people are actually paying attention to them, and how many people then go out and buy 0.01 Bitcoin. Anyway, moving on. I could continue, but there is a lot to cover. Next up, the SEC is in the news today. I know they're not the most liked organization and or whatever that you want to call them today. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, or the SEC, is set to make final decisions on 9 proposed Bitcoin exchange traded funds, or ETFs, in the next 2 months. As first reported on Tuesday by CoinDesk, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, or the SEC, delayed a decision on a proposed rule change from the CBOE-BZX exchange that, if approved, would allow for the listing of an ETF backed by blockchain startup SolidX and investment firm Van Eck. Yet the SolidX Van Eck proposal, first put forward in June, is just one of 4 filings in waiting. Combined with the past submissions from firms ProShares, Direction, Granite shares and a total of 10 Bitcoin-related funds are being weighed by the SEC officials, according to public records. Although the Van Eck Solid X Bitcoin ETF is the only physical ETF among all the proposals, and this is why we care about it. Those deadlines are set by the time at which the proposals are published in the U.S. Federal Register, with an initial decision due 45 days after that time. The agency can then punt those decisions to as many as 240 days following publication in the Register. That would be a complete slap in the face. The deadline for a decision on two funds from ProShares is August 23rd. That's just over 2 weeks away. The rule change paving the way for those products was submitted by the NYSE ARCA on the 4th of December 2017. September will see a series of deadlines for Bitcoin ETFs starting on the 15th of September, the date by which two funds from Granite shares will receive a thumbs up or thumbs down. The funds were initially proposed on the 5th of January. The point is we're going to focus on the CBOE Van Eck Solid X exchange thing that happened. So you guys realize that when this was pushed back, the market completely collapsed. No one's actually sure why the market continues to react the way that it does. My friend sent me an article, and please, I implore you to take this with a grain of salt. It's something that I've thought about the last couple of days. If you guys remember, I said, I have a feeling, and someone in the comment section said it as well, I cannot remember your username at the moment. I said, I feel like the SEC is rejecting all of these things to kind of show their muscle. If the SEC, the same with the South Korean government and also Japan, you know, when they said they were making sure not to give regulations too soon because they didn't want to give legitimacy to the market. They wanted to make it, my opinion, they wanted to make it seem as if they were taking their time and trying to decide if this was actually going to go through. There were people behind closed doors desperately writing on parchment paper, you know, the rules of what everything would be. I think that all these things have already been decided. I'm sure a lot of other people believe this as well. It doesn't take 4 years to allow an ETF to go through. I think in the beginning, maybe the last 3 years, they probably thought that the ETF thing was a passing fad. People were just trying to get things going for this thing on the computer called Bitcoin. But the fact that they've had to look further into it over the last year, more or less, I think it's kind of picked up a tiny bit. So like I said, my friend sent me an article. He reads a bit more than I do, which is actually kind of crazy if you can believe it. Like I said, he sent me this article. Take it with a grain of salt. It says the CBOE has responded after after the delay was announced. Sources confirm a continued BTF in confidence. So, long story short, after yesterday's panic reaction to the CBOE Van Eck Solid X Bitcoin ETF procedural delay, we thought it important to reach out to our CBOE contracts. That I believe is this website. They got in contact with their contacts, Van Eck back channels, and industry vets to get their reactions. They didn't disappoint, and you will pick up a theme very quickly in the commentary from 3 separate and industrially different sources regarding the topic. All gave nearly unanimous opinions about 2 issues of crypto interest. The unexpected delay and continued high expectations continued to eventual approval. Our most consistent CBOE source responded via text this way. They said it's unedited, and I do quote, the text said, expected, and the markets are acting irrationally to the announcement. Every single submission like this has gotten a delay. Again, expected. Still expect approval, 99% expectation. Print it, but as always, don't use my name, smiley face, and quote. So apparently this is from a CBOE source, someone who's probably inside. Like I said, when these rules are made, when these decisions are finalized, don't think that when Coinbase finds out something, that we find it out at the exact same time. They know weeks before and they try to put it out exactly to the news. The same exact thing with the CBOE. They know, they talk to these people. All these people know each other. They sit in rooms, they have conferences, and they talk about, if we allow you to have this passed, what will you do with it? If this so and so and so happens, like everything has to be completely laid out, and this is pretty much what's going on. So this is the first source. A source we were passed at Van Eck responded via email with this, and I quote, Our team expected this delay almost to the hour and has been an expectation in our planning process. We won't say when we expect an approval, but there has been specific speculation that we actually agree with and have incorporated into our timeline. We are in no way surprised by this. Most importantly, we believe our submission is the strongest yet to be put in front of U.S. regulators and believe that strength will be rewarded, end quote. We shared the above feedback from a source to our network who happens to be a former SEC employee now in the private sector within the last 3 months. They said, and I quote, "The 4 people I still talk to on the daily at the SEC are basically telling me this is going to get approved, but we are going to make the markets understand that we dug really, really deep, i.e. investor protection, transparency," end quote. And that makes sense. The vast majority of the public still has no idea what digital assets are or what it means. So when you do an approval like this and the successive approvals that will be following in this asset class, think of the 3 to 5 year return number that will be associated with the market. And maybe that is the key to the VanEck SolidX approval. It is set up as an accredited investor vehicle. That singular element is probably what gives so many of us a firm belief in this approval and is a stroke of genius by the VanEck SolidX group. Don't know if you guys caught the main part. This is exactly what I have said before. I think, I don't know if I really don't know, and I don't mean this as a joke. I watch a lot of like period movies and period timepieces and things from, the 1700s and 1800s, and I've tried to get an idea of what people, how do I say this without sounding insane? I like human nature. I like human behavioral patterns. And I thought for so long that a lot of these things were haphazard, that they were random, that the things that were happening in the cryptocurrency market just happened. That was really weird that happened during that day. And then you come to find out that we have sentences like this. Like I said, grain of salt. We don't know if this is true or not. But the idea kind of holds firm in my head that you cannot and they will not approve something that is brand new, that has something to do with a brand new asset class, especially if they are in that asset class. I'm pretty sure there's at least one person in the SEC who is holding on to Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and Litecoin. Not only them wanting to fill their pockets, not saying that it's manipulation of some sort, which it currently is, but it comes down to, we have to want it. This is why I think there's been such a huge hype specifically around the CBOE ETF more than any other one that we've seen. There have been a lot of other ETFs over the last 365 days that have also been shot down, and we haven't heard any news about them. But the fact that this is constantly in the news leads me to believe that we are in a situation where I think it's supposed to be like where you're told no and then you're told yes, and you're supposed to not bow down. That sounds like a bit too much, but you're supposed to say thank you multiple times to the overlord for allowing the thing to be passed. There's still a lot of hype around this. There are a lot of other articles as well that I don't have in here at this time, where people were saying that they think that 2018 is a complete bust. No ETFs will be passed through. There are other analysts who have been on CNN, CNBC, wherever they might have been, and they were all talking about the exact same thing. They said they don't think, they have little hopes that Bitcoin will even pass 10,000 this year just because of the way that the market has been. And then on the other side, we have, if this is true, sources from the CBOE and VanEck and SolidX, and also a former SEC employee saying that this is definitely going to go through. I want to believe so bad that it actually hurts. I'm trying not to get my hopes up because this will be the catalyst for the bull market. There's no other discussions about it. No matter what you may think, no matter what ideas you may have in your head about what's going to be the catalyst for it, if we get a decision that an ETF, physical Bitcoin ETF, is going to be launched, it'll be the exact same situation that we had last year, where the prices of the market completely lost their mind when we got the news that the futures were going to be launched. Same exact thing is going to happen, but the only difference is now is that prices are higher than they were the last time that we got this news. So this leads us to a scenario where Bitcoin could maybe hit $30,000 to $40,000 per coin, which is kind of insane. I'm still betting on, I want to say 2019, 2020, $100,000 Bitcoin. I don't think it's mathematically impossible anymore. I think it's definitely going to happen. Right. That is the news for this. Like I said, grain of salt, but it's actually very interesting to think about. We're in such a gray zone right now, and it's driving me absolutely crazy because these people know exactly what they want to do. They know exactly what they're doing. But I'm pretty sure if they have the means and the money and they're able to fill their pockets with even a Bitcoin a day, I'm pretty sure this is kind of what a lot of the delay has been for. Next up, Bitcoin mining is in the news. The ever-increasing amount of electricity that Bitcoin mining consumes threatens to reverse the efforts and gains so far made in mitigating greenhouse gas emissions, an academic has claimed. According to Dr. John Truby, the director of the Center for Law and Development at Qatar University, Bitcoin was designed with no considerations made on its environmental impact and as such threatens our existence. Truby has thus called for solutions aimed at preventing similar blockchain technologies from emerging, and that is going to be the weirdest part of this entire thing. In Truby's view, Bitcoin as well as other cryptocurrencies cannot be wished away, and it is therefore necessary for future models of underlying technology to adopt environmentally friendly designs. He said the problem will only worsen. The higher the value of Bitcoin, the greater the incentive to mine, and new digital currencies will be developed with similar carbonized models. However, as the underlying technology can offer significant benefits, it is here to stay, so future models must be designed without reliance on energy consumption so disproportionate to their economic or social benefits, end quote. Among the proposals aimed at encouraging a shift towards blockchain technology that are less energy intensive that Truby has yet put forward in the paper titled Decarbonizing Bitcoin Law and Policy Choices for Reducing the Energy Consumption of Blockchain Technologies and Digital Currencies, my word, include government intervention. Truby, for instance, calls for the introduction of regulations which prevent developers from creating blockchains that exceed a particular level of carbon emissions per gigahash. Besides using regulations to incentivize the development of less energy-intensive blockchains, Truby also proposes the use of alternative fiscal tools, including academic research funds, government grants, or creating a business-friendly, safe space for developers of environmentally friendly blockchains. The fact that he thinks, I don't know, that actually could come into play. Side note, before all of that, there's a lot of discussion about Bitcoin mining. I know a lot of people love Bitcoin, but the problem is that it takes a lot of electricity. In Canada, people have been barred and or banned, whatever word you want to use, from actually mining Bitcoin in the country. That is, you can do it at home, but if you have some type of major operation, there are a lot of companies who've been trying to find a colder region to be able to mine because mining is very energy intensive and it creates a lot of heat. So the same thing with this is happening in Greenland, I believe parts of Iceland as well. People are trying to do this in the north of Canada to try and get some type of, whatever to be able to mine there. And governments around the world are telling these companies, no, you cannot do this because it's taking up too much electricity. It's happening in certain places maybe in Russia as well. I can't remember exactly where the other places were. I know in China, they've been cutting down as well. They've been stopping people from mining altogether. There are a lot of places, rural areas more so, where miners are actually taking the energy from farmers, and that they're draining so much energy that farmers are actually having blackouts on their farm, in their houses, in the places where the chickens are and the cows are. So this is why there's been like an argument recently, and why Vitalik Buterin also said that he's trying to get Ethereum over to proof of stake, at least 50-50 in the beginning, to be able to not have something as energy intensive as this. The fact that he thinks that governments will be able to regulate developers from creating blockchains that exceed or can exceed this type of thing, the same exact thing with Bitcoin, leads me to believe that we could see a rise in the number of proof of stake coins, which is not a bad thing because these are coins that you can also mine on your own computer. It has been estimated, and I said this before, this had to be about a month and a half ago, there was like another discussion, someone else mimicked something like this. These discussions are always constantly going on. They said, mathematically, by the time we hit the year 2030, that is about 11 and a half, 12 years from now, they said because of the Bitcoin halving every couple of years where it becomes more difficult to mine Bitcoin and therefore the process becomes more energy intensive, by 2030, it could cost up to $1 billion with a B dollars to mine just one Bitcoin, which would be probably the most ridiculous thing in the entire world. Like I said before, I don't think Bitcoin is ever going to have a proof of stake thing. I think some company may eventually create something where there's like side chains where you could still mine Bitcoin on a proof of stake thing. But as of the main chain, I don't think that is ever going to happen. This is one of the arguments that gives Bitcoin its value, is that it is so energy intensive. But I think governments aren't going to be as happy unless Bitcoin is actually, by 2030, Bitcoin needs to be about $15 million per coin for governments to not be upset that it's doing what it's doing to electrical fields and stuff like that. A lot of people who are also trying to use hydroelectric mining. There's some type of here we go. Oh, that's wow, that's really crazy. Right here, Australia could see the first solar-powered Bitcoin mining farm in Coal Town. That's actually the craziest. Just thinking about it, and it's actually right here. There are a lot of companies who are trying to move over to solar mining because they think it could be the future of Bitcoin. I don't think we're going to have a choice in a couple of years. I think if this continues to go on, and what's even crazier is that when we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the charts of how much more difficult it's gotten since 2017 to actually mine a Bitcoin. I think it's gone up by 800% since this exact time last year, and that's with the prices going down. Prices going down have caused more people to get into crypto mining, specifically Bitcoin and Ethereum, and has actually caused the difficulty to raise by 800% on Bitcoin, and that is before the prices start going back up, because everybody FOMOs into the market. By the time we actually have some type of a bull run, let's say we have a bull run for about 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Let's say Bitcoin does get around $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. You know how many people are going to be buying mining equipment just to have a sliver of a Bitcoin in their pocket, and how much more energy intensive this is going to get, especially around summertime when people use the air conditioners. Okay, whatever. I'm rambling, but you kind of understand. There are going to be a lot more things about this, and as governments around the world are becoming more what's the word? Where they're trying to reduce carbon emissions, and they're trying to reduce the amount of pollution that's actually happening inside of cities, because if you walk around certain cities, the air smells horrible. I think this is only going to happen a bit more. I think the future of mining will definitely be solar powered and or hydroelectric, which still isn't a problem. I think the Bitcoin will have to be mined at some point anyway, but still kind of excited to see what Bitcoin is going to be like in the year 2030. Next up, Litecoin is in the news today. The cryptocurrency community has been preaching for mass adoption in recent time. Now, with the availability of Litecoin on text message through Lite.im, we seem to be a step closer to our desired cryptocurrency for all goal. Today, the Litecoin community showed a great sense of happiness when the founder of Litecoin, Charlie Lee, made known that LTC can now be sent and received on Telegram and via SMS. He said, and I do quote, "A bear market is the best time for people to work on adoption. Check out Lite.im. Send and receive Litecoin on Telegram. Eventually, it will support SMS as well. That's text messages. Great work at the Republic team. We build it and they will come. Adoption is key," end quote. That's another place where he said it. The brain behind the idea is Zulu Republic, made known in a statement today that since the beginning, they have been driven by a vision of what the world might look like if the founding ideals of cryptocurrency revolution were realized. They said, "Today we take the vision one step closer to reality by announcing Lite.im, a new project from Zulu Republic aimed at expanding cryptocurrency access to a wider population than ever before," end quote. I can't remember the name of the other company. We spoke about them. It had to be a day or two ago as well. There's so much news like piling up. It's really crazy. I think everyone's getting ready for September. That's kind of the way I feel about it. There was another thing where they were allowing, or rather it was another company that created text messaging for cryptocurrencies as well. I didn't know there was such a market for this. My idea has always been you download a wallet, you use the wallet, you send money to your friends through the wallet. But it would be interesting, first of all, if we have integration of sending cryptocurrencies through Telegram. That's already something. People keep asking, am I on Telegram? I am not on Telegram. I know people keep pretending to be me on Telegram. It's not me. Point is, a lot of crypto users are on Telegram. And if we can send Litecoin, Bitcoin, any other coin that's out there through Telegram, that is massively going to increase adoption. And I think eventually WhatsApp and a bunch of other things will also have to do it. I don't see a future anytime soon with Facebook integrating crypto. And I mean, like 4 or 5 years down the line, I think Facebook is too afraid because of all their couple of scandals that they've had over the last year, 2 years, and all the other things that they've been going through. If we can get this momentum going, if we can continue things where text messaging apps and messaging services where you can send crypto back and forth, that is massively going to completely change the cryptocurrency world. I am kind of happy that prices went down. I know that's crazy. I would also like to be on the beach right now, but I think we needed this time. We needed this time for the market to cool off a tiny bit. But think of all the things that have been built over the last 8 months for the cryptocurrency space, all the things that have come out. I don't think if prices had continued rising and that pressure had been on the developers to get us the upgrades and all these other things, I don't think we would have seen a lot of these things like this. As of now, I can't remember was it Ethereum Classic? I feel like it was Ethereum Classic. The point is, Light IM has allowed LTC to be traded back and forth on Telegram and soon for SMSs as well. I'm going to assume we're going to see a lot more of this piling up over the next couple of years. Hopefully by the end of the year, we have a couple more things like this as well. I didn't see the value in it before, but I do like the idea of being able to send it through messaging apps, especially if people are more secure, as long as the crypto adoption continues to be able to spread this way. Bitmain is in the news, and it's as crazy as ever. Bitcoin mining behemoth Bitmain is now valued at $15 billion after closing a pre-initial public offering, or an IPO, funding round with backing from high-profile investors, QQ News reported on the 4th of August. The fresh financial deal, which is said to have closed on Saturday, notably includes investment firm Chinese tech conglomerate Tencent and Japan's SoftBank, another tech giant whose 15% stake in Uber makes it the drive-hailing app's largest shareholder. Tencent, meanwhile, is a developer of China's dominant social media platform WeChat, which has over 1 billion global users and outstripped Facebook's market cap by $72 billion in March of this year. If you don't know what WeChat is basically China. Think of Telegram, Instagram, WhatsApp, every other thing kind of smashed into that, and this is kind of what WeChat is. The Chinese government has an enormous amount of control on to what happens inside of their borders, and there are very few things. I think Skype isn't allowed, Facebook isn't allowed within China as well, so people kind of resort to WeChat. I think you can also send money and all these other things on WeChat as well. Can't remember the other things. Anyway, the point is, WeChat is like the largest thing in the entire world, so this is why they are significant in this as well. According to QQ, Bitmain is planning to launch its IPO on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange this September, once again September, at an estimated valuation of $30 billion. As Cointelegraph previously reported, Bitmain CEO Jihan Wu hinted at plans for the IPO in early June. In February of 2018, Bitmain reportedly held 70 to 80% of the global market for Bitcoin mining hardware and posted between $3 and $4 billion in operating profits in 2017, higher than American graphics processing unit GPU manufacturer NVIDIA. At the end of July, Fortune reported that Bitmain earned around $1 billion in net profit from the first quarter of 2018. The same month, it closed a $300 to $400 million Series B funding round, which inched its valuation upward to $12 billion. Bitmain is not going to go away, and there was news about them as well a couple of days ago. I can't talk about Bitmain all the time. For those who do not know, Bitmain is at the moment the largest miner of Bitcoin in the entire world. They also mine Ethereum as well, but the controversy lies in the fact that they own at least, or are in control of at least 42% of the Bitcoin mining hash power, and it's believed that they actually own other smaller entities as well, so they probably are over the 51% number as well, meaning that they control the entirety of the Bitcoin network. And the fact that they are launching an IPO, the fact that that they have major investment banks and tech giants behind them, tells me that, one, you should pay attention to the companies who are investing in crypto. Even if you whatever the case might be, that means that other people are definitely into crypto, and probably the people you probably would not expect to be, which means that things are possibly bright for the future of crypto. But I think Bitmain at some point is going to not hit a snag in the road, but I think we're going to have news eventually that they control officially around 60% of the Bitcoin mining power. The only good thing I can think about this is that they are in China. They are launching all of these things and they are not being shut down. So I think that's only the main thing right now. But as of now, I think Bitmain is going to be like the largest entity that we have in the cryptocurrency space, possibly forever. There's no one else is what's the word? Not fighting them. No one's challenging them at the moment. They have no real challenges. If you control 51 or more % of the Bitcoin network because of mining, and they're only getting billions of dollars extra every single year, I can only assume that they're also expanding. I think there was news a couple of days ago that Bitmain was expanding into Texas. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what I read. I think they got the go-ahead to open up another crypto mining farm in the United States as well, which only means that Bitmain is probably, I would not be shocked if by the time Bitcoin hits 100,000, if we hear that Bitmain is actually one of the most valuable companies in the entire world, potentially rivaling other like major banks and stuff like that as well. Not going to be surprised at all. But anyway, that's the Bitmain news for today. Next up, this is about the market. Confusing is the best word to sum up how the crypto markets have performed over the preceding weeks. Despite the excitement of July and early August price rally, a welcome sign in an otherwise severely bearish year, the crypto markets again failed to hold momentum and slipped backwards. While Bitcoin has managed to sustain above $6,000 for the time being, many of the top 10 altcoins and beyond have reached all-time lows for the year, some of which are approaching their valuation prior to 2017's end-of-the-year explosion. The result is investors and cryptocurrency enthusiasts left scratching their head and wondering how an investment class that is already eclipsing 90% in losses from the beginning of the year can continue to fall. Some place the blame on the recent emphasis over a Bitcoin exchange-traded fund. While ETFs were hardly mentioned during 2017's bull run, most of the news on that front was consumed with CBOE's launch of BTC's futures. The recent narrative in crypto has approached near obsession over the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission greenlighting a Bitcoin ETF. The largest proponents of a BTC ETF are the same that continually rally around the institutional money is coming slogan, a belief that once Wall Street and other big capital investors turn their sights to cryptocurrency, prices will resume smashing all-time highs. However, the net effect has been an investment base hinging upon news of ETF approval, as opposed to any discussion on the advancement and adoption of cryptocurrency. While 2017 will be remembered as one of the most bullish crypto markets of all time, 2018 has been far more practical in the sense that crypto's real-world presence is growing. Stories of adoption that are only commonplace today would have been celebrated endlessly just 12 months ago. I told you guys that before, and this is what makes me so mad. I don't understand what's wrong with the market. We had times where mega companies mentioned the name Bitcoin in a sentence, and Bitcoin went up by 15% that day. We have had an endless stream of news since the beginning of this year. Good news, nonstop good news. Updates, adoptions, upgrades, integrations, banks. The fact that banks are mining cryptocurrencies and the prices didn't go up is crazy. This means that the richest people in the world have taken notice to cryptocurrencies and they're trying to get as much as they possibly can. The fact that we've had all this good news and prices have continued to go down, and it's not even, I understand that rich people or whales, whatever you want to call them, probably have the largest effect on the market. That's just how life is. So many people have dumped out of the market, and it's like, what are you doing? The fact that we had coins falling by 20% a day or two ago, multiple coins, and then hitting all year lows is probably one of the most frustrating things I've ever seen in my entire life. It's understandable considering the wild price ride to end 2017 brought in a host of new investors, many of which are sitting on 50% losses, that are looking to recoup on their investment or find some positive spin on the massive fallout in value. However, speculation alone will not continue to drive the industry. The dot-com bubble never came close to killing the internet. Despite the massive amount of capital it flushed down the drain in addition to shuttered companies, because the internet proved itself to be a resilient and necessary technology, most within the industry of cryptocurrency find similar value in Bitcoin and other projects. It's just a focus which has shifted away to endless discussions of price. Where do I even begin? The dot-com bubble was a bust because people continued to make companies that had no purpose, websites that had no meaning. People, one of the most hilarious, or I guess smart ones out there, was that guy who made $1 million from his website because he was selling, I think, what was it? I can't remember the name of it. He sold 1 million portions of his website, every single little block. I can't remember the name of it right now, for $1. Sold 1 million of them, made $1 million. There was little things like this that we didn't need on the internet, and a lot of people kept on speculating that there was only money to be made in this kind of space. No one is reading about what Bitcoin does. People hate XRP because someone told them to hate it 5 years ago. People don't like Litecoin because they don't understand what it does or what it's going to be used for. They think that it is a clone of Bitcoin and has no use. People aren't paying attention to what these coins do and what they're going to be doing and what integration is happening and who is using them, and the companies that are integrating them into their systems and that are mining these things and that are actively putting their hand into the pot. It's like having a pot of gold in front of you. You see other people dipping their hand into it, and you believe that for some reason there's a snake at the bottom that is going to bite you. It doesn't make any sense. Everything is just revolving around price. I get that Bitcoin and crypto is just about money to a lot of people, that all they care about is making money. I told you guys that before. This is a channel about investments. It's about crypto investments. But the fact, this shows that the market is, this is why we don't have a Bitcoin ETF. It's because of things like this. There needs to be a sufficient amount of liquidity in the market that should we receive the most catastrophic news in the entire world, that the Bitcoin price may possibly only go down by 5%, the same exact with every other coins. If you receive news, no other coin is attached to Bitcoin physically. And I mean it in the way that we didn't get a rejection for a Litecoin ETF. We didn't get a rejection for a Cardano ETF. There was no rejection for a BAT ETF. And the fact that Bitcoin got hit by, it was 7% and then 11%, and the entire market just completely crumbled, showed that there's only hype in the market. No one is actually, the entire point of crypto, I think we're about 87.9% lost. I think a lot of people are walking through the dark. I think this is only a cash grab for a lot of people. And I told you guys before, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, you have to do your own research. You have to understand what this is. If you have the chance, go and buy Andreas Antonopoulos' book. Find out everything that you possibly can. Read as much as you can about what's happening in the cryptocurrency space. This is not going to go away in a couple of years. I understand that a lot of people have lost money. Like I said, I'm never going to tell you what to do with your money. People keep saying in the comment section, once the prices go back up to where they were in January, I'm out. I'm done. Completely throwing my money away. Definitely out of this market. People talking about they're going to be buying stocks and bonds. That's a completely different discussion. Someone created something 9 years ago that allows people to transfer wealth and money and value across borders almost instantly, seamlessly, without anyone else knowing about it or having to know that you have sent this. We have a way that we've never had anything else like this in the entirety of our existence on this planet. There's never been anything like this. I don't know how to, I understand, I get it. I know people out there definitely listening to me. Sorry if I am not too passionate, or if you've heard this spiel before. People need to understand, and I think the market will be a lot better. What's going to end up happening is, and I'm going to predict this right now, when Bitcoin does start to go back up and the price nears around $17,000, I think we're going to see a dip in price. This dip is not going to come from institutions. This dip is going to come from normal people, retail investors who are trying to get back as much money as possible as when they put it in the market, because they think the market isn't going to go very higher. The fact that we have the New York Stock Exchange, who announced a couple days ago that they are going to make sure that Bitcoin will become the world's first world currency, is crazy. I don't think people are getting how significant that is. I know you may read things or hear me say things and you may think, oh, whatever, he's blowing hot smoke. I see the comments. I see people talking about that I'm spreading BS. I'm spreading so-and-so, and so I'm trying to take your money. That's all crap. I'm sorry. If you don't like it, please leave. And I don't mean that in the meanest way at all. I mean, if you have a problem with crypto and you don't see a future in it, Please, the door is right there. I don't know what else to tell you. Something is going to happen to this market and is going to be absolutely insane. After that dip happens from all these people who are trying to recoup some of their money and they leave the market, and we have physical Bitcoin ETFs, and we have the New York Stock Exchange getting into we have SBI getting into one of the world's largest banks in the entire world, and billions of dollars are flowing into the cryptocurrency market. The crypto market is going to be a lot better off. Like I said, I don't mean that in the meanest way. The branches have been shook the beginning of this year, and I'm sure you've noticed it as well. The amount of interest in Bitcoin has dramatically fallen in cryptocurrencies as well, because people keep thinking that because the price of Bitcoin has fallen, that everything is dead. Everything is completely gone. Crypto is completely dead. Oh my gosh, why are people into this? Crypto is dead. I see people in the comment section. It drives me nuts. I don't know if they're just trolls or exactly what that is, if they're trying to get other people to sell, or don't be mean to other people. Don't get whatever. If you can't see the signs right in front of you, if you can't tell the significance of the New York Stock Exchange and Swiss banks talking about that they're going to start being able to trade crypto, that the German stock exchange is also creating their own crypto exchange. All of these things are happening, and not many people seem to be understanding that it's just not about money right now. We're going to get to a point where we're all possibly some scenario where we're all going to be crazy wealthy should crypto continue on the path that it's on. But there's so many people who are just in it for the money. They don't get it. This isn't stocks. This isn't bonds. This isn't you owning a fraction of a company that could one day go bankrupt. This is something that we've never had before in our lives. This is a completely new payment system. This is a way for me to transfer you money across the world in an instant. There's never been anything like this in the entire world. And the fact that so much emphasis is being put on the prices and an ETF and a future, and prices going down for coins when we don't get updates. Like I said before, I get the frustration. We've been told by the people from Ethereum that we were going to have Raiden, we were going to have Casper, we were going to have Plasma, we were going to have proof of stake and all these other things on Ethereum by the end of 2017 and then potentially the middle of 2018. I get it. I understand. But this is why so many crypto leaders are talking about leaving the space. You know how bad that is? You know how bad it is that the people who made Cardano, the people who made Ethereum are talking about leaving the cryptocurrency space? That Charlie Lee is literally screaming at people on his Twitter right now because so many people are just concerned about the price of everything. Like, I get it. I get that money's important. Please, I implore you, I beg you at this point. I know a lot of people say that everyone has the time. Everyone has 5 minutes of their day. If you're laying in bed, if you are in the bathroom, if you are on the train, if you are on the bus, everyone has 5 minutes to open up an article and read something. Read a paragraph of something about Bitcoin. Read something about what the CBOE is doing, what the SEC is doing, all these other things. It's really crazy. I hope that we get it together. I think that we will eventually. Like I said, what's the shame that's going to happen is when the market goes back up and people think that it's just a spoof, that someone's pushing the prices up, and all these people who desperately will one day need this money, who could potentially become millionaires, will have sold all of their crypto trying to make back some of the money that they think that they lost. And then the people who will control the industry are the same exact people who have had protests against them during Occupy Wall Street and all this other stuff. And people will scream, why are these people so rich? Why are these people so wealthy? Why do they have so much money? When I first got into trading stocks and bonds and stuff like that, and I was watching on TV the people behind the Occupy Wall Street movement. This is not me talking down about the movement at all. I think what they did is understandable, especially in the world that we kind of live in right now, where there's a huge amount of inequality. But I spoke to other people before, and I was telling them, I said, it's easy to invest in stocks and bonds. If you know what company you're trying to get into, if you invest in a company that has great dividends, if the dividends have increased over a matter of years, there are ways to figure out this information. And I said, if everyone just put their money into stocks, into bonds, into real estate, even the safest things, and learn how to invest, we wouldn't have such a gap in the wealth divide. And people completely lost their minds, and people kept on saying, no, we don't do it because the rich do it. Same thing is going to happen in the cryptocurrency industry. If we reach a point where right now Bitcoin is $6,000 something, I have no idea what the exact price of Bitcoin is, and Bitcoin hits $500,000 in 5 years, think of what, this is not me telling you to buy Bitcoin, but think of what that money can do. Think of the amount of wealth that will be able to be grown. This is why we have projections now that the first trillionaires will come from crypto. This is why the Winklevoss twins hold 200,000 Bitcoin that we know of. I'm pretty sure they're also in some type of other mining company or organization or company or institution, whatever you want to call it. Think of, multiply 200,000 Bitcoin by $500,000. How much money is that? They also have, I think, 250,000 Ethereum and a whole bunch of other coins as well. Think of the amount of wealth that is going to be built. People who will want this money in the future are not paying attention to exactly what crypto is. And I think everyone is so concerned. Buy your Lambo if you must, but don't be upset when the Lambo that you bought then years later needs to be repaired and could have been worth millions of dollars extra had you kept that money in crypto. That's all I'm going to say on this. I didn't mean to spend that much time. Like, I really did not. I told you guys before, I'm very passionate about helping other people make money. And I want a period. I want a scenario in 2021 where I make a video and everyone in the comment section is talking about how rich they are, the things that they've bought, the things that they have invested in, the cars, the things that they have, the so-and-so, whatever. I want situations like that. But I think we're going to enter a point where the only people, or the vast majority of people who are going to be making tons of money in this, are the people who are already rich, who already own tons of property, who already own land all over the world. And I think that just might be human nature for what it's worth. All right, everyone, on to the last thing. Ethereum Classic is once again in the news. On the 9th of August, the official Twitter handle of Ethereum Classic, ETC, retweeted a post stating that Grayscale, the cryptocurrency-focused investment fund trust, has about $90 million of Ethereum Classic in its possession. As reported by Grayscale, the Twitter account of Grayscale also carried an update regarding the issue. It read, holding per share and net asset under management for our investment products, they have BTC, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, Litecoin, XRP, and Zcash. They also have these numbers here. I'm not going to read through all of that. Grayscale, on its official online portal, defines Ethereum Classic as a cryptocurrency that is flexible and is applicable in the Internet of Things, or the IoT. Moreover, Ethereum Classic is the second largest holding in the Grayscale trust, with Bitcoin leading the charge with $1.3 billion. I don't know why they wrote it as millions. In July, the investment firm had about $1.4 billion of digital assets, with the prime targets remaining institutional and accredited investors. A recent tweet has communicated that the figure has gone up to $1.5 billion. Recently, the market cap of Ethereum Classic swelled and overtook coins, namely Tron and Monero, to jump from the 13th position to the 11th. However, the cryptocurrency enjoyed this only for a short period and is currently sitting at the 13th rank again. Ethereum Classic has been under the spotlight, as ETC is to be listed on Coinbase in the upcoming days. Coinbase is a leading player in the cryptocurrency trading space, among other top exchanges platforms. Recently, Coinbase successfully finished the final stage of ETC testing for adding it on Coinbase Pro. I think my friend also told me that I think Ethereum Classic is listed now on Coinbase, but apparently you can't touch it. I assume this has to do with the 2-week waiting period that they're giving for Coinbase Pro and Coinbase Prime. I was going to open up other tabs on here, but I was like, there'll be no space for me to click on anything. If you may have noticed or have been paying attention, for some reason, Ethereum Classic is getting a lot of back pats over the last couple of weeks. I'm actually caught by surprise. I told you guys this 2 weeks ago. I said I was confused, still kind of am, as to why Ethereum Classic has been getting so much attention. First we had from Coinbase, and I think we had news yesterday from Bittrex, and then we had something else from another company. I think we also had it from Robinhood, also added Ethereum Classic. I think there's about 9 things now that have added Ethereum Classic over the last 2 weeks. I think it may just be another, like easy gateway to kind of add another coin into the different platforms. I think people are afraid of adding maybe the wrong coins, or coins that won't be around in a couple of years, or coins that don't have significant liquidity. The point is, For some reason, Ethereum Classic has been getting an unusual amount of attention. I don't know if I don't remember anything over the last 3 to 4 months about anything significant happening with Ethereum Classic in that someone building something on it, it being integrated into something, some type of it being allowed as a payment option. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but this is something to keep in mind, I guess, going forward. If you have an Ethereum Classic, I would, this is not a professional opinion as I am not a professional, I would say maybe hold on to it. The fact that Coinbase is listing it, the fact that I believe DCEX is going to be doing it as well. So is Bittrex. So is, oh gosh, what's it called? Robinhood. I think Robinhood is also listing it as well. I think the large spike in volume when we do have a bull run could send this price relatively high. I don't see it hitting the top 5 coins anytime soon. I mean, anything is definitely possible. But Ethereum Classic, I think, at least at the moment, especially as it is currently listed or going to be listed officially in around 2 weeks on Coinbase, I think the value is definitely a bit lower than where it should be, especially because it's at its lowest value compared to its all-time high. I think I'm going to end this video here. I think you may have noticed this video was a lot longer. Part of it wasn't planned. Part of it was I added more tabs than normal simply because I may have uploaded one. Thank you if you're still here. 2, congratulations if you're still here. 3, I may have uploaded this video, I think, a bit earlier, simply because this weekend I may try and take a break. I think I have put myself on overdrive. I've been doing a little bit too much. I tried to create other projects recently as well, and I think I'm doing too many things. I think doing 7 or 8 things in one day might be a bit too much. It'd be a bit too ambitious for me. So the point is that I thought I'd give a longer video with a bit more information to kind of pick up the slack, if you will, for the weekend. I'm going to try and take a break. If anything, I should be back on Monday, I hope. Unless something really, really crazy ends up happening in the cryptocurrency market, then I'll try and make some type of video during the weekend as well. But I assume we're going to have a relatively lull weekend. I hope everyone out there has a great weekend. I hope it's enjoyable. I hope it's not too hot wherever you are. If it is, go to a water park. Go spend time with your friends and family. Get off the computer. Stop worrying about cryptocurrencies too much. I know the prices are driving people crazy. There's a documentary somewhere out there. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's like what it's like being obsessed with Bitcoin. And it's this guy who sits on his computer all day and just looks at prices and never leaves the house. And his girlfriend thinks he's mad because he just sits there looking at the prices all day. Anyway, the point is, like I said, I need a bit of a break. If the prices explode over the weekend and I can't make a video, I'm sorry. I'll actually be really sad if I can't tell everyone as well. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys are having or have had a great day, morning, afternoon, and or evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. Thank you once again for all the support. Thank you for watching and or listening, depending on how you get your information. I think the future is incredibly bright for crypto. Please read, do your own research. There's so much stuff happening in the cryptocurrency space. I know it's frustrating that prices haven't been going up. I know it's frustrating that the money you put into the market may not be where it was before, but we are still in a I think one of the most I'm excited for a couple of things in the cryptocurrency space, but I think the thing that I'm most excited about is for the point that has been prophesized by a number of other people. I think Tom Lee and also Charlie Lee, where the millionaires and billionaires finally realize that there isn't a full Bitcoin out there for each of them, and they kind of go completely insane. This is where I think the $1 million projections are coming from. Once again, thank you. Yeah, I'm always awful at ending these videos, and I will talk to you all soon. See you.